Kamala Harris' recent speech was seen as a critical chance to outline a clear and substantial economic plan. However, instead of offering detailed solutions, Harris leaned into populist rhetoric lacking in depth. Rather than addressing the underlying causes of economic issues, Harris chose to blame big businesses for the high costs that Americans face daily. She promised to crack down on price gouging by these industries through the enforcement of a vaguely defined federal ban. This approach drew skepticism, especially since many businesses, particularly in the grocery sector, are already operating on small margins. Despite inflation cooling from its 2022 peak, prices remain elevated compared to the Trump era, making it a pressing issue for voters. Harris did not address the main reasons behind the inflation spike in 2021, such as the Federal Reserve policies supported by her administration. Instead, her focus on corporate blame was criticized as a diversion from more substantial economic discussions. Harris highlighted the need to build 3 million new homes over the next 4 years, identifying the lack of supply as a key driver of housing affordability issues. Suggested clever tax incentives to encourage this construction. However, her proposal to offer $25,000 could increase demand without addressing supply, potentially pushing prices higher. Suggested clever balancing measures, such as eliminating other demand-side subsidies like the mortgage interest deduction. Harris' strongest proposals focused on expanding the child tax credit, which had already been proposed a month earlier by the Trump campaign. She also proposed expanding the Earned Income Tax Credit for childless low-income workers, an idea that has bipartisan support in Congress. She advocated for extending tax breaks that help Americans afford health insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplaces. Harris supports expanding the government's power to negotiate Medicare drug prices and proposes permanently capping out-of-pocket drug spending at $2,000 per year for everyone. These measures aim to alleviate the financial burden on Americans, particularly the elderly and those with chronic health conditions. While Harris insists she will adhere to President Biden's pledge not to raise taxes on households earning less than $400,000 annually, her campaign did not detail specific revenue sources to fund her proposals. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a nonpartisan watchdog, estimated that without clear offsets, her full plan could add $1.7 trillion to federal deficits over the next decade. Harris' speech was widely viewed as a disappointment, even by the standards of campaign economics, which often involve making lofty promises that may not be realized. Critics argue that the speech failed to provide realistic solutions to the economic challenges facing Americans and relied too heavily on populist tactics rather than sound economic analysis.